I made my way across the muddy lawn as quickly as I could. Once I was under the awning over the porch, I kicked as much mud off my boots as I could. I didn't want to contaminate the crime scene. Once I was inside the house, I was greeted by several officers. Forensics was busy photographing and collecting evidence. Sergeant Henderson waved to me from the hall. "Do we have another one?" I asked him. He didn't have to answer. He gestured into the bedroom. It was covered in blood. Blood spattered from wall to wall. And in the center of it all, on the room, was the body. William Carter, age 25. 2 priors for possession with intent to sell. A man said from the other side of the room. I looked at him suspiciously. "You see, I've been working homicide for 20 years now. I know everyone here." "Don't think I've ever seen you before," I said. The man smiled. "Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention. I'm Detective Samuels, narcotics," he said and extended a hand. I shook his hand. "Oh, I appreciate your being here, detective, but this is homicide. If you want to arrest him for dealing, you're a little late. However, if you have any suspects, you let me know," I told him. "Actually, detective, the chief asked me to give you a hand with this one," Samuel said. "Hey, I work alone. I've never had a partner. I don't need one now," I told him. Samuels looked around to see if anyone was listening. "To be honest, this is the 10th drug dealer murdered this year. Same MO. I think the chief needs an arrest soon. And it's my understanding you are working on the assumption that it's a rival drug dealer taking out the competition. So I might be able to help." "Of course it is. 10 drug dealers killed in a year. All victims killed with a hammer. It seems obvious. Besides, the killer left the same gang graffiti on the front door of each house," I told him. Samuels walked out of the room and gestured to me to follow him. He went out to the front door. "This graffiti is the giveaway, right? It's the right wording for a set that I have been tracking. But the artwork just doesn't match." Samuel sighed. "I think someone is posing as a rival, possibly to throw the police off their trail." "Have you told anyone else about this?" I asked Samuels. He shook his head no. "Okay, we wrap things up here. I'm going to go home and get my files ready. Tomorrow we will sit down and go through everything together. Maybe you can find something I missed." Samuel smiled and agreed. "If I help you catch this guy, do you think I could get into homicide? I'm getting a little tired of narcotics, to be honest," he asked. "Yeah, possibly," I told him. It has stopped raining now. It's been a few hours, but the lawn at Samuel's house is still muddy. I was careful not to leave any footprints. I hope the rattle of the spray paint can didn't wake him up. I didn't see any lights come on. I guess I'll find out after I pick the lock. I told Samuels I had never seen him at a crime scene. That was true. But I had seen him plenty of times. He was a crooked narc. And he was probably tired of narcotics because Internal Affairs has been investigating him for 6 months now. I can't allow him to shift the blame from rival gang members. Besides, I'm just taking one more drug dealer off the streets before I retire next year. I plan to stop them. I probably will. And besides, I don't want a partner. I work alone. The first and last time at band camp I was 13, but I was small for my age. I was also very skinny. I never really fit in at school. The only interaction I had with my classmates were with the other kids, making fun of me. It didn't help that I was naturally introverted, or that I was 2 years behind everyone else as far as size went. As a result, I didn't have many friends, or any friends, to be honest. The only thing I was good at was music. I played the saxophone, and I was actually pretty good at it. My parents decided to send me to band camp this summer to help me nurture my gift, whatever that meant. I heard them talking. My dad was worried about how much it would cost. My mom knew they couldn't really afford it, but they could make it work. My mom pleaded. She begged him. Joey needs to make some new friends, and the only hobby he has is playing music. Maybe he can meet some people with similar interests and come out of his shell eventually. My dad finally agreed, and when they proposed the idea to me, I couldn't refuse, knowing how much it meant to my mom. But band camp wasn't any different from school. I spent all day keeping my head down. I avoided eye contact with the other kids. One morning at breakfast, I found a giant spider in my oatmeal and screamed bloody murder. And everyone in the cafeteria pointed and laughed at me. A large zit-faced kid plucked the rubber spider out of my oatmeal and presented it to the kids. They cheered and laughed harder, realizing I had been the victim of a prank. The next 3 days were relentless. Rubber snakes, itching powder, Bengay in my underwear. It went on, with everyone laughing at me. Then one of the instructors pulled me aside. Joey, they will keep picking up on you if you give them the reaction they want. The next time they try to prank you, just ignore them. If they don't get the reaction they want, they will move on to someone else. I took his advice, and for the rest of the day, I ignored them. Prank after prank, I avoided the urge to react. I even paid extra attention to my surroundings, which paid off when they tried to jump out and scare me. Tonight we were supposed to play a piece outside as a group, but there was a storm coming in, and the rehearsal was cancelled as a result. The instructors were certain we would still have time to practice for the show at the end of camp when our parents came to pick us up. About an hour ago, a thick fog rolled in, and the kids have been talking about how you can't see 3 feet in front of you. It's werewolf fog, one of the kids yelled as he looked out of our cabin window. He turned out to me and with spirit fingers repeated himself menacingly. Werewolf fog. I ignored them. Ha, Joey, I bet you won't go out there. One of them challenged me. I kept my head down. Joey's too chicken, another kid added. Immediate silence fell over the cabin when we heard the howl. A chill went down my spine and I almost lost my cool. But then I reminded myself of what the instructor had told me. They are going to keep pranking as long as I fall for it. There was another howl, louder and closer this time. It sounded so real. The other kids in the cabin were pretending to be scared and began looking out the windows. Then there was the scream, a loud agonizing scream from outside. The kids kept up the act, and one of them proposed someone go get a counselor. Someone outside could be heard. Another proposed they put the bunk bed in front of the door to keep the werewolf out. Finally, they agreed that Frank, the biggest kid, would go. He grabbed his flute and wielded it like a weapon and opened the door. Frank stood in the doorway for a minute, looking into the fog. I couldn't see the steps on the porch, and they were only a few feet away from the door. Frank tenderly stepped out into the fog. I couldn't see him anymore, but I heard the steps creaked under him as he stepped down. Everyone stared out of the door for at least a minute. There was complete silence, except for the sound of the group breathing heavily. And then Frank screamed. I heard rushed footsteps in the leaves as he ran back to the cabin. He plowed through the group at the door, knocking one kid to the ground. Frank collapsed right in front of me. He clutched at his throat. Blood spurted from his neck onto the ground and onto my feet. The other kids kept up the act and screamed as Frank gurgled and gasped. He stretched one hand out for me and then went limp. His eyes were wide open, staring at me. I have to give him credit though. He may be a bully, but he is a great actor. He isn't even blinking. A kid, maybe a counselor, he's really tall, has just entered the cabin. He is wearing a werewolf costume. Somehow, fake blood is spraying all over the cabin as he pretends to maul my roommates. It looks all so real. It even has the same copper smell as actual blood. And the screams. The level of dedication they are putting into this prank is unbelievable. But I'm not falling for this one. I'm going to sit right here and keep writing this. But hold on. All the other kids are playing dead. The man in the werewolf costume is walking over to me. I bet he's about to tell me that it was all just a joke. Thank you for tuning in to the classes of Dr. Dark. If you haven't done this already, then do give this video a like and share your thoughts in the comment section below if you enjoyed the stories along the way. Also, do not forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on all post notifications to always get notified when I upload a new video. Follow me on social media, and in the event that you share this video with your friends, do tag me as well. Lastly, if you enjoyed my style of story narration and want your own scary stories to be narrated by me, then do send your stories to me via email, or you can submit them on my subreddit. You will find the details to everything in the video description below. With this, until next time, class dismissed.